So we connect to your account and we get your real-time pricing. For anyone who's working in any level of construction these days, with the constantly changing costs, this is huge because it means that your costs are accurate as of today, and you don't have to worry that you haven't updated your pricing.
Welcome to Mastering ServiceTitan, where you get expert advice from power users. I'm your host, Josh Liu, and today I'm joined by Sue Drummond, the Solutions Delivery Manager for Residential Exteriors here at ServiceTitan. We're diving into the whole sales flow and what it looks like in ServiceTitan for roofing and exterior contractors. And so, Sue, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Typically, we just jump right into the product and how to use it and all the best practices. But you have such an interesting story about how you got into roofing and working with software. So I was curious if you can tell our audience how you got into the space.
Sure. I started in the industry. I worked directly for a very small family-owned and operated residential re-roofing company. Very typical, where you're sort of an office administrator, right? You touch all the things and learn. It was a great place to learn about the industry. I had known nothing about it going in. Spent about 5 years there. And then I moved on to a larger new construction and commercial focused roofing contractor, focused on material procurement there, safety, and the service department. It became very frustrating to me very early on that even at such a large company, the level of efficiency in roofing and in construction in general was very paper-based and very minimal. And as a millennial, I was kind of banging my head against the wall with the lack of use of technology. So I ended up leaving that company, and using my knowledge of the industry, I co-founded a construction safety software company that focused primarily on helping roofers to manage their safety programs. I spent about another 10 years, so now 2 decades worth, working with roofers, standing in back shops, helping the field workers to use an app on their phone, and then moving right over to the admin team in the office and the C-suite in the boardroom, making sure that the entire company from start to finish had recognized the value and was able to benefit from the adoption of technology, which in roofing was very slow to adopt. So I was on that sort of like beginning of the frontier of pushing technology into this space.
Wow, super cool. We are so lucky to have you at ServiceTitan, and I'm so happy to have you on today to dive deep into these workflows. You're like the perfect person to have on to talk about this. So
I feel passionately about it because I love roofers. I love working in that space, and there are such easier ways. It doesn't have to be so hard.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those ways. And we'll kick off here with basically an explanation and deep dive into this workflow in ServiceTitan. And the whole goal today is just to show you all the possibilities of what's everything you can do in ServiceTitan and how smooth it can all go. So if we start off with, let's say you're a roofing company and a customer calls you looking for a quote. What happens next in ServiceTitan?
Today's consumers have very high levels of expectations, right? Like the customer experience has changed a lot in the last few years. We're able to track our food when it's being delivered to us. We know the name of the driver that's delivering it to our door. We have these levels of the customer experience that have increased. And so we want things fast. We want our questions answered without having to answer them. We're capable of doing our own research. So the experience that a homeowner is looking for needs to be delivered with speed and with accuracy today. So we want to get out to the home as quick as possible and be able to deliver an accurate estimate that also provides choices. Right? Studies have been showing that this new level of consumer wants choices. And if they're not provided with choices from your company in the form of different materials to choose from, different warranties, different products, then they're going to look outside your company for other options. So providing a good, better, best, or gold, silver, bronze, whatever you want to call it, that is what today's consumer is looking for. And so we want to do that. And we want to also utilize then technology to get us there, but still they're still looking for a face-to-face interaction. They still want to build that connection and that rapport with the salesperson and with your company, because that's important. It's a lot of money. They want to make sure that they're feeling confident in your capabilities.
Totally. How does ServiceTitan help in that customer experience right off the get-go when it comes to booking that job?
The first thing that we did was partner with some of the leading measurement companies in the industry. It used to be that you would send a salesperson out to the home. They would spend up to maybe an hour climbing around the roof, taking measurements, recording notes. This is time consuming. It has safety risks obviously involved in it. And it's taking up the customer's time because you want them to be there so that you can present the estimate to them. But while you're doing all of this and then sitting in the truck, writing out your estimate, they're sitting inside wondering what's going on. What's this guy climbing all over my roof? What's he doing out there? And why is it taking so long? This still happens a lot. And lots of customers are totally capable, or lots of contractors are totally capable of manual measurements. What we're able to do now with our partnerships with GAF Quick Measure, EagleView, and Hover means that as soon as that lead comes in, as soon as you've booked that appointment for the sales team to go out, you can order a measurement report from one of these companies right from your ServiceTitan account and have the report, the PDF, delivered right into the job. And then also pull the values that are important to you for your measurements right from that report into the form that you're eventually going to use to create your estimates from. So it means you're arriving at the door all with the information, that almost all of the information you need in order to create that quote.
Wow. That is so amazing. I remember in our previous conversation, I was like, how the heck do they get those measurements before you even get there? Is it like some kind of satellite thing, or are there drone cameras? And I was joking with some of this stuff, but it sounds like there is some pretty advanced technology behind the scenes to help get those measurements, right?
There is. And you'll have to ask them for their secret sauce.
And you mentioned GAF. I did see on their website, they say they have an exclusive partnership with the preferred CRM of ServiceTitan, which is such cool news to hear and very validating, I think, for the industry.
Our partnership for measurement is with GIF's Quick Measure, which is their measurement software, but also GIF as the shingle manufacturer is enormous, a very popular brand, and to be named their preferred software provider, which they've never done before, was a huge recognition in the industry that we've arrived.
Yeah, it's super cool. How about if there's someone listening and they're still kind of in that old way where they still do kind of manually measure things? Can they still book that and do all that within ServiceTitan?
Absolutely. And there's value to that too. It can be time consuming, but it can also be rewarding. And the features that we've built for our estimating tools will still provide value to you, no matter how you're collecting the measurements. What we have designed for our roofing contractors is a way to use a custom form. We provide it in a stock format first so that you don't have to recreate the wheel, but then a form that collects the key measurements that you need in order to measure any roof. Things like the linear feet of the eaves, the rake, the hips, the ridges. All of these are measurements that are on your roof, and you have to capture in order to then run a calculation and determine how many pieces of material you're going to need in order to complete this re-roofing project. When you enter that into the form in ServiceTitan, we have preset calculations that in the background do all the math for you. So the salesperson never has to use that calculator. It will then generate a good, better, best, or however you've designed your template to be. It will create and spit out those estimates based on one entry of that form, meaning it's consistent. So you can ensure that it doesn't matter which salesperson is visiting which house, your material quantities based on the specific brands that you are using. And that could be If your ice and water shield has a coverage of 66 feet instead of 75 feet, we've factored that in to the calculation. If you like to add a waste percentage or round up to the nearest roll, we've factored all of that in. It's done once. You don't have to do it every single time. It's done once in the setup process. Then it's consistent from roof to roof, salesperson to salesperson. You know it's consistent across the board, but it also means that it's easier to train someone new who maybe is a very skilled salesperson, but doesn't have the roofing experience. Maybe they wouldn't have excelled or couldn't be brought up to speed as fast as when you have tools like this and they don't have to learn what the calculation is for ice and water shield.
Right, that makes sense. It's good to know that we're flexible in that option of, hey, if you want to go out there and take the measurements and fill out that custom form, we'll still support you with those custom calculations and actually generate a good, better, best estimate. Or if you're a little bit more, I don't want to say it, maybe ahead of the time, with the times, we'll call it, using GAF, Eagle View, Hover, one of those integrate perfectly, and that'll also generate the estimate with multiple options.
Absolutely. And this is a game changer for companies who are used to quoting based on a per square basis. Because it's really difficult to try and calculate every single material that's required on a roof. There's a lot going on there. It may not look like that from your driveway, but there is. There's a lot of customers who are out there trying to deliver quickly. And when they deliver quickly, they skip the accuracy part. So then you're not quite sure on what your real costs are. And then you're not quite sure if you're actually making any money on the job. And suddenly you're in this cycle where you're getting work, but are you actually making money on the jobs that you're doing? And that is somewhere where our customers from ServiceTitan are beginning to realize what their exact costs are. And then they can stay competitive in their market because you can mark up your costs and include your overhead and your profit and ensure that you're making money, not just like fingers crossed, hope we make money on this job.
Right. Wow. What a shift.
Yeah.
Do you find most people coming over to ServiceTitan were they previously doing the square footage method? Were they manually taking measurements? Are most people already partnered with one of these folks, or what's the blend look like?
It's a mix. It's a mix of all those things. Even those that are using the measurement softwares to grab the key measurements, they're probably using it to factor in the calculations on the main materials, your shingles, your underlayments, your flashing. They'll use it for those purposes. But we really go to an additional level of detail when we're setting up your templates. We factor in the number of coils of nails you're going to need, the number of tubes of caulking. Like this way, we know exactly what's going to be required, and we can refine that cost and then mark it up to a very specific degree, a degree I've never seen another piece of software go to.
Wow, that's amazing. And then once the estimate is built, does the salesperson usually have to make a few tweaks, or is it pretty much like a pre-built proposal template that you're already set with that you can present to the customer?
We include a template so that we can be consistent, but then every roof is different. And so we also add options for things like, you've got a skylight and you want it replaced, or you want to throw in a quote for add the gutters, because if you're already going to be here, let's do the gutters too. So the template acts for as sort of a standard templatization, but then it also allows for add-ons. Absolutely.
Perfect. So it's kind of like a shell based on your measurement, however you did that. And then from there, you can make some tweaks. And then what does it look like presenting it to the customer and then leaving it with the customer?
This is where you start to get into different techniques from a roofing contractor to roofing contractor. Some really like to leave very detailed descriptions of exactly the material that they're using on every single quote. And then some like to keep it a little bit more high level and focus just on the attributes of their company and why you should use them with one price. And we have the capabilities to do any of those. You can actually choose line by line, material by material, which items and their descriptions you want to include on the estimate in your template and which ones you don't. So there's a higher level of customization where once it's up and running, and we try to get you there with sort of a best practice approach, just so you can see it in your hands or on an iPad or a tablet, and then you can really start to tweak it. There's sort of a secondary level of customization. And when we're going through that secondary level, once you're at the point you're happy with the way the form works, the measurements are calculated, you're delivering these accurate estimates, then we can sort of focus on the presentation of this estimate. Obviously, the goal is to sign the deal at the table every time. We want you to increase the number of sales that you're making with one visit. But 100% is never going to be the case. Your customers are likely, a lot of them are going to want to talk to other contractors, do their research. So we want to make sure that you're able to leave them with something that can answer their questions, that can provide them with that extra level of comfort that they're making the right decision when they go with you. And so we have a professional proposal that you can customize for your business with your logo, with all of the sales tools that you use, rather than the old style of like dropping an estimate and leaving it in a mailbox, or sitting with a customer and you have often a pitch book where you're flipping through and you're showing them a letter of recommendation from another customer, your certificate of insurance. These are all things we can package into an electronic proposal and email it to the customer before you've even left their dining room table. They can have this in their inbox, and we pull in the estimates that are custom to their home. We package it into this professional presentation tool and then leave that with them as the lasting impression of your company.
So you're telling me that people no longer have to climb on roofs. They no longer have to flip through books. And basically, it sounds like roofing contractors can save a lot of time when they're actually on site, invest that time building rapport and building that relationship with the customer versus having to do the necessary, quote unquote, old world things of all that manual work where the customer is just sitting there by themselves waiting around.
Yeah. And you can choose that approach, like less time in the truck, more time at the table, and build that relationship and that confidence in the rapport. Or some of our customers are using that extra time to just get out to more clients. So you don't have to do all of that hour's work prior to sitting down at the table. You can still spend that hour with the customer. You're not shortening it by any means. But now you can get to 3, 4, 5 more appointments in a day. You're out there delivering faster. Your turnaround time from lead to sales visit is much shorter.
Amazing. And I'm sorry if I keep calling it the old way or the traditional way. I don't mean to make people feel bad out there, but there are newer ways. And so let's say the happy path happens. The customer signs that day in the kitchen, or they want to go with you. What happens next in the back end of ServiceTitan?
This is one of the coolest sort of bonus features, I think, that we deliver based on the level of detail that we've already created at the estimate stage. And it has to do with your costs and where you're ordering your materials from. So we have integrated with a number of the key roofing suppliers, and we have direct connections with their accounts and with your personal account, because a lot of contractors don't go off of the basic stock pricing. They have deals worked out with a supplier. So we connect to your account and we get your real-time pricing. For anyone who's working in any level of construction these days with the constantly changing costs, this is huge because it means that your costs are accurate as of today, and you don't have to worry that you haven't updated your pricing or you haven't updated your pitch book or any of those things, which historically are updated manually. So it's done once a month at most, maybe. I have to say, in the company I worked for years ago, we were probably doing it biannually. Less fluctuation back then, but still. real-time costing from your suppliers on your material means you're getting that return at the time of your estimate because your calculations are coming from accurate costs. And then to circle back to your actual question, it doubles the value on the procurement end because you've created a list in order to generate your estimate at the sales stage. And when you win that job, that list for procurement, your backshop manager, your production manager, whoever is ordering the materials, they already have that list. They don't have to sit and work it out and go, oh, how many rolls of ice and water do I need? How many lengths of valley? It's all there for them. All they have to decide is, are you pulling this from your back shop or are you sending this PO straight through to the supplier to be delivered to the site? And if you're pulling it from the warehouse, then I need 3 tubes of caulking and 4 coils of nails, and I'm grabbing some felt underlayment and ice and water shield for this job. And so your pick list for your crews the morning of, they're already generated. The work is done, and you can send that PO and manage that PO right from your ServiceTitan account, and it goes directly over to your supplier. If you're using an integration, if you're using a smaller supplier, which there's tons of great smaller shops as well, you can order it through email. You just grab the PO and then email it over to the shop.
When it comes to price book, I know that's probably a whole episode in itself and there's a lot of setup and whatnot, but could you give people maybe an impression of what the setup process looks like and implementation when you're getting all this onboarded to ServiceTitan? I feel like that's a big concern for really anyone switching any software at any time. The setup is always kind of like a scary topic. Can you paint a picture of what it looks like?
I mean, knowing your costs is that I've always talked about it a lot. Today, it's a very important. So being prepared for that, knowing which materials you're going to be using and what you're paying for them currently, going into a process of like onboarding a new software, that's going to benefit you and speed things along, no matter what. But we also try to help in any way that we possibly can. If you are integrating with a supplier, we do reach out to your account rep and we can usually get a list generated of the most common materials that you've ordered over the past, month to 6 months. Some suppliers have actual templates set up, so we can actually just pull those templates for you. We also can do an import if you already have a price book from somewhere else, a list of all your materials and costs in any type of digital format, then we can usually get that transferred into an import. We also have a Pricebook Pro, which you can purchase and gets you the majority of the way there because you're able to get at least a list of industry standard materials and the costs that we've generated, which are industry averages, get reviewed, but it's more of like a once over that you're kind of just double checking, does this look right to me, than having to build that list from scratch. So lots of different ways that we can help generate that list. The important thing is that you're getting it generated and that work that you're doing on the front end, that's going to pay off because that's where you're going to get all of your data from. If you know your costs, then you can, your gross margins, your markups, and you can use that information in the data and analytics that ServiceTitan is famous for being able to generate and in a useful fashion for contractors.
Actually, if we can stay on this little side quest we've taken about setup and implementation, I am curious if you have any other advice for those who are either starting implementation or maybe just about to start looking at ServiceTitan. Do you have advice for what makes it easy for them to transition versus what makes it really hard?
Getting up and running and taking advantage of the features that we've built specifically for roofing contractors to start so that your sales workflow is functioning from start to finish. And just taking advantage of our core features and the roofing specific features in regards to sales is going to boost your close ratios and the average ticket price that you're selling immediately without a ton of effort. So get up and running first. If you spend too much time worrying about the back end of what are we going to do with this data? What reports do I need? you're going to get stuck in onboarding. So get up and running and make sure that you're collecting the data first with your onboarder and that your teams are comfortable using the software. So focus the time on training, asking questions, and making sure that the team is comfortable, because adoption is your key metric for success here. If the field teams are not able to utilize the software, then it's not successful because you're not collecting the data. Then sort of a few months in, you can work with one of your success or with your dedicated success rep. And that's when you can start going, okay, I'm collecting all this data. Now what can I do with it? How do I benefit from all of this hard work that I've done even more, and can do sort of a deep dive into the analytics, the reporting, the data.
That makes so much sense to just focus on what's critical, which is like doing the thing, getting the jobs done, and getting the workflow.
This product does it all. And if you try to do it all in onboarding, you're going to be in onboarding forever, because there's so many opportunities here. Get the core set up and running. And then there's so many other add-on features too, that in our Pro series, that you'll suddenly, like maybe a year from now, go, oh, hey, I could really use some extra help with my marketing. Oh, well, we've got like a marketing pro product. Let's take a look at that. But that's after.
Yeah, let's get you set up on the core first. How about for people who have to change a bit of what they do in their business? Like, let's say they were doing the square footage and now they want to partner with JF, Quick Measure, Eagle View, or Hover, and take on this whole new workflow. Do you have advice for them in terms of the change management process there? And do they have to have that all figured out before they join ServiceTitan?
No, the onboarding team is really good at asking questions and helping you to determine what your priorities are. But I do think that because what you're referencing specifically in a cost-based estimating structure, that is knowing your cost, that is where the foundation of the data begins, that is where it's worth the time in the implementation to make sure that you've got that right. You don't want to train your team on the software and then 2 or 3 months from now change the workflows for them. We want to go in with like utilizing best practice, use our industry knowledge, use our best practices. We've got tons of customers who are already doing it and doing it really well. And if you're going to make a change, use the time now to make the change when there's going to be a transition, no matter what, to a new software.
Okay, last question. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. So you've been in roofing for so many years, and then software specifically for over a decade. Now at ServiceTitan, what's been one of your favorite like interactions or stories working with our customers?
I mean, definitely I've seen a lot of our smaller corporate clients. You know, you're not the big private equity firm, you're more of like the family run shop, one that's very close to my heart. That's where I started. Seeing the transition for them is enormous, because those are the people that we're helping, not just to make more money, but to give more time. I've worked in the industry. I know how valuable time is, whether it's time that it means you get to make it home for the sit down dinner, or that you're at Thanksgiving dinner and you don't have to talk shop across the table because that report is available to all of you in your inboxes on Tuesday morning, or more time on the golf course, whatever you're going to do with that time. Some spend it out selling more. Like, the time is that you can't buy that. So making the changes for those hardworking contractors, and roofers work so hard. I mean, all trades work hard, but roofing is a very physically demanding trade, and you're out in the elements and you're working at heights. There's very increased safety risks. These contractors deserve to have the time. So I think that is always what's motivated me to give back to this community. Is, sure, I want you to be successful. We all want to make more money, but I also want you to like enjoy the ride, and on a day-to-day basis have time for your family or whatever it is that interests you in the evenings and on the weekends.
Wow, what a beautiful way to end it. It's inspiring to hear your story, and no wonder you're so passionate about this space. And thank you so much for coming on today and just shedding some light on what's possible in ServiceTitan. And yeah, we will catch you all on the next episode. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Josh. I'm happy to talk roofing anytime.